The Nottingham Forest goalkeeping saga has continued as Jose Sarr is now linked to Forest. But who the hell's going to end up here? Welcome to your transfer news. Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are, whatever time of day you're watching this. Hope you're having a fantastic day, and welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest transfer news. Coming up, we're going to be talking about 6 billion goalkeepers. I know I hate talking goalkeepers, but you got to do what you got to do. There's talks of a new defender, and literally an old defender, and another striker that has been linked to Nottingham Forest. As always, if you wouldn't mind, please take a second to hit that like button. Get us to 250 likes, that'd be fantastic. Please don't forget to subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new here. And don't forget, we're going to be giving £120 in vouchers for the club shop at the FFTV live podcast and barbecue. So if you haven't had your tickets already, please go and grab them. It'll be at the Trent Nav on the 6th of August. Doors will open from 3 p.m. £5 gets you in. Then, of course, you can go purchase your burgers, your drinks, whatever. It's going to be a fantastic day. But if you want to be in for a chance to win some of that £120 gift vouchers for the club shop with the new Adidas kit coming out tomorrow. Can't wait to see it. And make sure you grab your ticket and you'll automatically be enrolled. All right, let's get on with this and let's talk about this goalkeeper situation. I just want to start by reading out a list so far of all the links, and I've probably forgotten some because there have been so many, on goalkeepers that have been linked or rumoured or bidded on or just freaking driven through the Nottingham area, probably not even Nottingham, the Nottinghamshire area. And these are the keepers that have been linked. Obviously, there's Henderson. Then just check this. We've got Navas now linked, who we'll talk about in a second. We've got Mateus, who's apparently had 2 bids put on him. You've now got Jose Sarr from Wolves, who's been linked. You got Dragovic, and then you got Begovic as well, all being linked with Nottingham Forest. And obviously not all of these stories will be true, or all these rumours will be true. But there are probably like little seeds, little elements on each story. I think for me, the concrete ones are obviously Henderson. I mean, that's a given. Even, the retweeting journalist would probably be right about that. But also the other ones that sound like they've got legs in them is Mateus, because bids have gone in from Nottingham Forest. There's been 2 rejected bids, as far as we know, or as the rumours go. But why is it sounding like a scattergun approach? And are Forest taking a scattergun approach towards this? I don't think so. I think this is agents pushing a lot of names towards Nottingham Forest. What's clear, even if you're an idiot, is that Forest need, not you guys, as in agents. If you're an idiot agent, then Forest need a goalkeeper. So why wouldn't you try and push some stories about your client being linked to Nottingham Forest? So I think there's a lot of that going on from agents. But I also think Forest want 2 goalkeepers. Again, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out. And this is why, if this Sarr link and if this Navas link is correct, and the Hendo link is correct, and apparently it's closer than close, it's pretty much done deal, it's, basically like guaranteed, like the sun will rise tomorrow, this one's getting done. If that's all true, then it's going to be a situation where we have 2 number 1s fighting for a number 1 spot instead of a number 1 and a number 2, with a number 1 taking the shirt. And this brings this debate. Do you want goalkeeper competition? We've had this debate many times before on the channel. And yes, I think goalkeeper competition is good, but not when there's a small difference between the goalkeepers. I still feel you need a number 2 who's vying for a number 1 spot and will push your number 1 to perform better. But when you get to number 1-ish goalkeepers, that's when you could have the problem. So for example, I mean, the reason we brought this debate up in the first place back in the day was when Forest signed Navas. And we were arguing that, well, clearly Henderson must be more injured than they're telling us, because you can't have a number 1 and a number 1 that close together fighting it out. And it sounds like it's happening again. There's talks that Forest will be considering, keyword there, which makes you think, okay, this is just filling column inches, but let's entertain it, that they may consider Navas for a small free fee from PSG. The problem with Navas is the 200 odd K salary he has. And let's just say it were to happen. Let's for the moment assume Hendo gets done. Are you going to bring Hendo in on probably 100k a week or thereabouts, and then bring Navas in on 200k as your backup keeper to warm the bench? And this is what I'm saying. You got to start using logic when some of these links are materializing. Either it's going to mean that the Hendo deal is off. That would be more logical in my mind. Or it means that Navas is going to take a huge pay cut and be happy to play second fiddle. Now, on the actual Navas deal, I've got zero interest in having him back. A lot of you liked him, but as far as I was concerned, he had very liquid gloves, man. He parried too many balls into the path of strikers for me last season. Yes, I know you're all going to say the Leeds game and he won us those 3 points. Fantastic. But let's look at it as the collective, and I still think Henderson is a better goalkeeper. In terms of Jose Sarr, now again, using logic or the limited logic I have, this doesn't make sense either. Again, you would have to say the Hendo deal is going to collapse. And if not, why would Sarr want to go from Wolves, where he's been dropped, to Forest to sit on the bench? Either or, he'll be doing that in the Premier League. Look, we can argue who the bigger club is. It's not much of an argument. Obviously, it's Forest. But in terms of the scenario, he would still be bench warming in the Premier League as a second choice keeper. So does it really matter if it's at Wolves or if it's at Forest? And on top of that, what would be the incentive for him to come? You'd have to probably say an increase in wages. And then he'll be happy to sit on the bench or push Hendo for the number one slot. And then you turn that conversation back to Forest and say, well, why would you overpay a second choice keeper when technically Horvath is there at Forest and he can do an okay job as a second choice, or in an emergency, you've still got Hennessy there. So all of this isn't making too much sense to me. Here's where I think it is. I think Forest are definitely going in for Dean Henderson. And I think the whole domino effect is what's causing all of this and then causing agents to link in. And obviously you guys know what I mean by now, the domino effect. De Gea needs to go, he's gone. But for them to now release Henderson, Onana needs to come in. But for Onana to come in, then Inter needs to make sure they've got their replacement lined up. And then that replacement from that club needs to make sure they've got their replacement lined up. So none of this can happen until the first club blinks, and then the dominoes all fall into effect after that. So anyway, I forgot the point I was making. So yeah, the Hendo deal is probably slowing everything down. And I think he's going to be the number one choice. And then I do think there's Mateus keeper, because if we look at it again logically, this is the one where Forest have actually made bids on, if you believe the reports. It's probably the furthest down the road. The rest of them could be smokescreens as well, just to add a further thing into this, to scare Man United into saying that Forest are looking at alternatives. Pull your fingers out with this whole Dean Henderson deal. So it's a complete bit of chaos, as the thumbnail says. It's a complete mess. But I don't think it's a mess that's been derived from Nottingham Forest. Or it might be, as I just mentioned there with the end bit about them trying to scare Man United. But most of the times with this stuff, you'll see it's either journalists or retweeters and agents doing this type of talk. So from the list there that we've spoken about, you got Navas, you got Henderson, you got Sarr, you got Mateus, you got Begovic, you got Dragovic. Which are the ones you think, well, one would you take as your two? And who do you think are the real links, if you like, on this keeper saga? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, so keeper saga and rant done. Let's move on and talk about the links from Man City. And we're going to bunch these three together. So we've brought you before Borges, the attacking player who can play it across the front line, lightning quick, 24 goals in 21 games or the other way around, and actually never set foot in the Premier League. We've already brought you that one. He's still linked to Nottingham Forest. There's also two other youngsters that have been brought in. And one is Cole Palmer, who I think everyone's been impressed with so far. He's been linked to Nottingham Forest. It's a tentative link. It's, you know, one of them ones. It's because Steve Cooper works well with the kids and what have you. And you've also got the, and I keep wanting to call him Harwood, but it's not. It's Harwood-Bellis. Now, he was playing with MGW in the under-21s tournament. And he's already had a season under Burnley last year in the Championship where he's done really well. So he's a player that actually could be a good long-term perspective for Nottingham Forest. And apparently, Forest are front runners in that one, if you believe certain. Anyway, So what do I want to say about this? The point here that I've got is a couple of things. One, just because they're from Man City doesn't make them the next Phil Foden. And I think there is a lot of overhype in terms of the players from their academy because of that connection with the Pep regime and all this stuff. Now, at the same time, that doesn't mean they're crap. All three of them, I think, are very good. And just because Steve Cooper is really good at working with youngsters doesn't mean automatically that they will end up at Nottingham Forest. And let's add on top of that, because they come from the Man City Academy, by default, most of their prices start from at least 10 million. You got Borges, who we've told you is about 11 million. I've seen reports putting the other two at 15, sometimes 20 million. And remember, these are unproven players at the Premier League level. So when I'm saying that Jono's worth more than 30 million, you can see why, because you got to count into that scale. Look, would I take these guys? Yeah, I would. I'd probably take all three, to be honest. I'm a fan of all of them, but I don't think they're starters, and they would be long-term projects. Now, are Forest in a position where they can start thinking ahead maybe 2 or 3 seasons in terms of their squad? I don't think we're quite there yet. I still think we need a robust squad of 15 to 17 players, and then you can sprinkle that magic young dust on it, you know, thinking ahead to 2 years down the road, etc. So do I believe these rumors, these links and everything? I'd say probably the Borges one makes the most sense to me, and I think that one could happen. I don't think it will happen, but I think out of the three, that's ahead. With the other two, there are plenty of other clubs that are linked in who may be further down the road in terms of their progressive plan, where they can look ahead a year or two. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but I'm saying, is there money that needs to be spent first on this current squad? I mean, we're still ain't got a goalkeeper, as I've just blabbed on about for the last hour, man. So, you know, these are the things that need to take into consideration. But by no means am I saying don't get them, but get them after we've secured who's going to play in the first team. Now, can any of them come in and play in the first team? Maybe Palmer, maybe. And, you know, it's nice to see that some of these names have historical links to Forest. You know, I remember Carlton Palmer playing at Forest back in the day. You got, okay, it's not quite Harwood in there. You know, maybe there's a little nostalgia in some of these names. We'll have to wait and see. But I hope my point makes sense. Yes, it's good to get them. Would they cut into the first team straight away? Probably not. Therefore, should we prioritize our window by completing the squad that Steve Cooper wants first and then sprinkle the dust? Get your thoughts in down below. All right, so another player being linked to Nottingham Forest is the Hertha Berlin striker, Derry. Oh, God, here we go with the name. Shahant or Sherbet or something like that. And I can't even claim to know anything about this kid. All I do know is that Newcastle are also interested in him. He's 18 years old, had 10 appearances with Hertha last season, scored 1 goal, and he's worth about 700k. And apparently Forest are going to bid 1.8 mil for him, and they're going to be rivaled by Newcastle. Again, this kind of links into what I was saying with the Man City boys. It's like, is this the right thing we need right now? This sounds to me more like future planning, a bit like with Aguilera, that kind of player. We've already got a few of those in the club, and we seem to be struggling to get those out on loan and get their profiles built up. So it's a whatever story for me. 1.8 million, basically Marinakis wipes his butt with that, so it's not exactly big money. But it's a story and it's a link into a striker. So what do you guys think about it? Get your thoughts down below. All right, that pretty much wraps up most of the headlines today for you with Nottingham Forest. So I want to know from you guys, would you take those Man City boys? Out of the goalkeepers, which are your 2 preferred choices? And if you've ever heard of this Derry Sherbet guy, let me know. Don't forget as well to go grab your tickets for the FFTV live podcast. There's still some raffle tickets available for the signed frame Brennan Johnson shirt. Don't forget as well to check out our FFTV Legends plaque that you can buy, the limited edition. Check the link in the description below. If you'd like to purchase it, the link to the website is there as well. Thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to like the video before you leave if you haven't already. Subscribe to FFTV if you're new. Come on, you Reds.